If I had to make a guess, I'd say there's probably very few of us in this room who intentionally spend time under freeways after dark. I would go a step further to say that probably even fewer of us have spent time under Interstate 5 in Seattle in an area known as the Jungle. The Jungle is an area that's notorious for huge amounts of homelessness, drug abuse, and a lot of violent crime. However, this is an experience that I intentionally sought after along with 12 other incoming college freshmen this past summer. We were spending 8 weeks together learning about theology in different nonprofit organizations, and so as our 6th week together, we went to Seattle to learn more about homelessness and the true hardships that these people face in one of the most dangerous areas of Seattle. After this week, I can affirm that the resources and tools that you bring to people in need from a nonprofit perspective that you think are going to be the most beneficial and helpful to them are often not the tools that they truly need to get out of their situation. So some of you may be familiar with the Union Gospel Mission, especially if you're from the Washington area. It's an organization that helps provide homeless people with food, drug rehabilitation, and job training. So on a Monday night, the 12 of us went down to Union Gospel Mission, loaded up a bunch of passenger vans with dozens of storage bins of sandwiches and clothes and blankets, and head down to the underside of Interstate 5 at about 10:30 at night. We made 7 to 8 stops that were familiar to the homeless people in that community because UGM makes those same stops at the same time a couple times a week. The first few stops went without event. We handed out a lot of food and were able to hear about a lot of people's stories. But as we got closer to I-5 and the outskirts of the Jungle, things got a little more interesting. At each stop, 2 of us and a UGM employee would do a walk around about a block's radius from where we stopped to gather in people, let them know, hey, the van is here, there's some food, come get dinner, come hang out. At this final stop, it was my turn and my friend Hannah's turn to do the walk around. So we were at the underside of the Interstate 5 bridge, and 2 UGM employees had to join us at this place because having a female in the front or the back of the group would have been a dangerous situation. We had to wear really sturdy boots at this particular spot because the ground was strewn with tons of trash, campfires were left unattended, and the ground was just littered with needles. Tattered tents held together, makeshift homes, and were fenced in by plywood, and fires left unattended everywhere. Prior to coming to this particular spot, UGM employees had warned us that the people who lived in this location had often lived in the jungle almost their entire life or were even born in the jungle and were unable to escape from that cycle of poverty. So those people are living meal to meal, just trying to survive, and as a result, they would be a little more forward with you, maybe get a little more up in your face than you'd be comfortable with. So it was times like this that I had to remind myself that they're still human beings. Poverty is a method of survival, and they're just seeking to survive. They're not seeking to harm you or even to scare you. I reminded myself that it was so easy for those of us that have grown up safe from poverty, that it's easy to equate poverty with bad intentions or an intent to harm. So during this final stop, I was speaking with a man who really impressed me. He had lived all over the world. He had a full college education, and he spoke 7 languages fluently. I'm not sure how he wound up living in the jungle, but prior to whatever situation put him there, I was really impressed with the person that he was. But he also struggled very deeply with mental illness and shared with me his hatred that he had learned so many languages and had so much knowledge at his disposal. As a result of several years of suffering from schizophrenia, he said that knowing these 7 languages was like having an international army of people just yelling in his head, and he was never able to escape that. I realized the irony of this situation, that here I was, little old me in the most dangerous part of Seattle at midnight, just having a chat with a guy who was far more brilliant than I, and yet one of the most downtrodden people I had ever met. What he really needed was a home, and to reconnect with his family, and have probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of treatment and aid and help, but all I had to offer him were turkey sandwiches. Caught up in hearing about his life and his story, I realized that one of the UGM employees was ushering us back into the van because the crowds had gotten a little big and a little rowdy for a bunch of 18-year-old girls and a couple of employees to handle safely. So we got back in the van, and just as we were driving away, another man leaned in through the passenger window and pointed a dirty finger at us and said, you all need to go to a university. You have the whole world at your disposal, so don't do what I did. Demand that you get an education at whatever cost. What I need isn't food and blankets and more sandwiches. What I need is for you to go to school and make the world a better place. That's what's going to get me out of this situation, not all of the nonprofit work that you can give me on a Monday night. As we drove back home and were able to return to our safe, warm, clean beds with a real roof over our heads, the words of these two men were ringing in my ears. One of them was tormented by all that he had learned at college and was now the apex of his mental illness, while the other demanded that we get an education, and his inability to get a college education had kept him in the cycle of poverty and had destroyed his life. We saw huge amounts of tragedy in our few hours down in the jungle. And what I thought I was bringing was sandwiches and a meal and someone to talk to, but I realized that my real weapons in this situation was my ability to get an education and have these gifts freely given to me that most of us take for granted. So I pose to you the question, what are you going to do with your education?